Jimmy Dore on the line with us, comedian, Pacifica radio host, author of the new book, Your Country is Just Not That Into You, How the Media, Wall Street, and both political parties keep on screwing you even after you've moved on. His website is jimmydore, D-O-R-E, comedy.com. And Jimmy, welcome to the program.
Hey, Tom. Thanks for having me on again. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks for joining us. So what's at the top of your hit parade, as it were? What do you see as the burning political issues of the moment that you'd like to comment on?
Well, I was just listening to your last caller. That's everybody's conundrum. How do I talk to my right-wing uncle at Thanksgiving without getting into a fight? And
yeah.
You believe in you have a nice moderate tone to you when you discuss with people that other people like me can't seem to pull off, because I get, like your caller, a little upset about things. People like, wow, Jimmy, you're really angry about Wall Street. And I tell people, I usually, I'm sorry, I let my anger come out when I was talking about Wall Street. Usually I save my anger for important things like, sporting events and Hollywood award shows. So that's the thing. I think you're supposed to get upset about that stuff, and I agree with you that you should try to argue moderately or have a moderate kind of disposition. But I'm kind of against moderates in general, like moderate politically. First of all, they're always smug, and they always think that the best ideas are somewhere in the middle of the Democrats and Republicans. And I say that's a horrible idea. Sometimes don't be a moderate, pick a side, and stick your chin out. It was called the Declaration of Independence, not the Declaration of Getting Along.
Right. Well, aren't independents? Isn't somebody saying I'm an independent pretty much the same thing as saying I'm dumber than dog do?
Well, I just think, I think sometimes people say that and they mean I'm not affiliated with any political party, which I feel the same way,
Yeah, but a lot of people are just horribly misinformed, uninformed, underinformed, or they're not paying attention. And I get it that for a lot of these people who call themselves independents and don't know what's going on, it's because they're working 16 hours a day. They're working 3 jobs. They're trying to pay the rent. And on the weekend, they don't want to work their brain anymore, so they'll watch a football game or something. And, I get that, and I don't actually have a critique or criticism for that, other than that our democracy's going down the tubes.
Right, yes. And when they're working at 16 hours, more often than not, they're in what they call a right-to-work state now. And what that really means is you have a right to work at Walmart wages.
Right to work for less is what I call it.
Yes, exactly, right. And that's what I talk about in the book, Your Country's Just Not That Into You, because I grew up in a big family, Tom. I come from 12 kids. That's a true thing. And people always say you learn a lot about life growing up in a big family. And I think the biggest thing I learned is I'm easily replaced. And I knew if I died, it wasn't going to put a big dent in my family's plans. I couldn't imagine my mom sitting around, oh, no, Jimmy's dead. What am I going to do now with just the 11 of you?
Right.
So I kind of have a good sense when someone's not that into me, and I can tell when our country's not that into us. When Wall Street bankers, I don't know how you feel, Tom, but if I see one more Wall Street banker come on TV and tell me the problem with our economy is Social Security, I think I'm going to lose it.
Yeah, Pete Peterson, case in point, a Wall Street billionaire who has for years been funding these efforts to take down Social Security.
Right.
It's nuts.
By the way, a program that has never been in debt, never added 1 penny to the deficit, never missed a check on time. It's the most fabulously successful social program in the history of humanity, and they can't stand that a social program works.
Yeah. I'm with you, Jimmy. I'm absolutely with you. What should we be doing to get people out to vote? We're looking at the absolute reality that if the majority of Americans voted, you'd have a Democratic majority in all 3 federal branches, or at least in 2 of the 3 federal branches, eventually in the judiciary, and you would have probably Democratic majorities in most states, and yet, young people, older people, in many cases, the working poor, they just don't show up to vote. What do we do?
That's another thing I talk about in the book is how they give you they talk about the illusion of choice, the illusion of one person, one vote, right? So you can see why people don't want to vote when in California I get 2 senators and we have about 80 million people living here, and I think 600,000 is the population of Wyoming. They also get 2 senators.
Well, let's
So
break
that's not one
California into
person,
5
one vote.
states.
And you go, why is our legislation so right wing when the people in the country are more liberal and progressive? And it's because of the way we had the Senate set up, where it's more than one person, one vote. They're getting 3 votes per person in Wyoming, maybe even more.
It's 18.
I'm sorry. Say
it's
again.
18. I mean, compared to California. Why don't we split California into 5 states, split Texas into 2 states, split Florida into 2 states, split New York into 2 states? If we did that, then the Senate would actually become fairly. Oh, and split Illinois into 2 states. If we did that, the Senate would then become fairly representative of the United States.
Yeah, then we'd have a representative government. Wouldn't that be horrible to have inside of our democracy? What would happen? The government might actually respond to the will of the people. That might happen. It's very slow going, but we're still living in a world where people think it's so. Most of the people think it's okay that the government spies on us, gives all of our money to Wall Street and foreign wars. And, when we have Occupy Wall Street, the corporate media demonizes. When anybody steps up and says something in this country, they get their heads cracked in by Democratic mayors up from coast to coast, right?
Yeah.
So we really don't have representation, I don't think, anymore in the government. The government is responsive to its donors. It's not responsive to its voters.
But that's because the Supreme Court came up with this bizarre idea back in the 1880s that corporations are protected by the 14th Amendment, and in 1976 in the Buckley case that spending money is somehow the same thing as that word speech in the First Amendment. These were doctrines that were never voted into law by any legislature.
Right.
In 1887, the President of the United States, what was his name? 1887. Anyhow, he was in his State of the Union address. He came out, and Grover Cleveland came out and said, the iron heel of the corporate boot is upon the neck of the people. It's amazing. Anyhow, Jimmy Dore.
Corporations are now people, and I say corporations who need corporations are the luckiest corporations in the world.
JimmyDoreComedy.com. Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you, Tom.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 866-987-THOM.
Oh, it's a nice break in a summer day. JimmyDoreComedy.com.